Hello and welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. Today's focus is on investing, believe it or not, and I'm talking to a brand that has redefined the landscape of portfolio management services in the country. It's none other than Motilal Oswal. Now, in an industry where differentiation is critical, Motilal Oswal has built a formidable reputation based on one of the most rigorous research capabilities in the financial sector. Today's discussion will shed light on how the group has strengthened its brand equity through strategic differentiation, continuous innovation, and an unwavering commitment to research-driven investments. We'll explore the key elements that have elevated Motilal Oswal into a trusted leader in the financial world. And to shed light on its approach, I'm joined by Sandeep Walunj, Group Chief Marketing Officer of Motilal Oswal. Well, Sandeep, welcome to the show and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Sandeep, the first question I want to ask you as, let's say, a lay person looking at these financial markets, it always looks a bit scary, unlike, let's say, an FMCG brand, which you also are quite well versed with, where, by trial is very easy. It's a soap, it's a shampoo, it's something I'll try, don't like it, leave it. If I like it, buy, repeat purchase. But here, the entry itself is so, I would say, overwhelming that, your work in the whole gaining trust, gaining customers and marketing the right way is so much more of a mammoth task.
It is, of course, because here the benefit that the customer is seeking is returns. And with returns, there is risk. Without risk, there are no returns.
Absolutely.
So as a result of which, the markets will always be risky. And that risk is interpreted as, fear. And that is why people fear markets. And that's the result why we remain one of the poorly contributed to kind of a market from a retail audience perspective.
Sure. Now, you've come in April and we've suddenly seen, the brand buzzing. What was your mandate? I know that one of your key tasks at hand is to rejuvenate the Motilal Oswal brand. While it is a very well-known legacy brand, what in your view is required to kind of revitalize, rejuvenate the brand, and more importantly, reach out to consumers via education, awareness, and trust?
Totally. So what it needs to do in today's environment is, of course, become more relevant to the younger audience that is coming into the market. So the market insiders, people who are in the 35, 40 years plus, obviously are well aware of Motilal Oswal. The brand has an entrenched place. However, some of the younger people, the brand may not have communicated that frequently or with that kind of a relevance that it has with the younger audience.
Sure.
So there has been a gap, which is my primary job to fill in.
Would you say this is just a Motilal Oswal challenge or an industry challenge?
So which was my second challenge was that a lot of youngsters are entering into the market, which is great, right? But quite a lot of them are entering with the wrong ambition as well as wrong information. So in that context, everyone wants results quickly. And investing is not something where you should be wanting quick returns.
Absolutely.
Or quick results. As a result of which, some of the actions or some of the steps that are taken by these youngsters may not be absolutely correct. And that may lead to disappointment.
What are they doing?
The parts of expecting quicker returns, which is falling in for futures and options, margin trading as it is called, or going after cryptocurrencies.
Wow. Okay.
Or churning mutual funds, running after the best performing fund, expecting 40% returns every year and, getting disappointed in the process.
Are they educated while doing all this? Or, how are they having the confidence? Like, I remember when I was young and started working, I didn't have that kind of maturity or the inclination, I would say, to kind of look at these spaces, right? You're barely managing to meet.
Yeah. So two things here. One is personal finance, however important it is not taught in any school.
True.
Neither do we talk about it. Right. So when you start earning, that's when, if you recall, when you and I earn our first salaries, we are left to handle that problem ourselves. The situation hasn't changed much. However, the confidence, the risk-taking ability, as well as the access to money has changed drastically. So as a result of which, today's young generation feels very confident of entering into the market and taking risk. Also, the industry has done very well. Mutual fund sahi hai. has been telling you for last 8 years that don't worry, there is risk, but there are rewards, and there is no reward if you do not take risk. So they have somewhere made mutual funds or equity markets a very acceptable thing to do.
Sure.
So people understand there is risk, but the markets have also done very well. So people know that if I take this risk, the returns are potentially very high. So the risk-taking ability has gone up. And as a result of which, a lot of people are coming in. But that risk-taking ability has gone up also corroborates to I'm wanting quick returns. And because there is no education and because there is no patience because of that demographic.
Absolutely.
And plethora of these, apps and, their communication, in a way distracting them, they're falling for, those things that, investing is perceived to be as simple by some people, not all of them. Investing is perceived to be as simple as downloading an app and getting started, while going up an escalator of a mall. I wish it was that simple. So that's where there is a bit of a challenge. So my second challenge, so first was obviously making the brand Motilal Oswal relevant and contemporary. The second is to stand up and do our job as leaders, to educate people to do it right. And that is why the recent campaign, which is Man from Motilal Oswal, and we are saying that we will not give you tips, we will give you solid advice.
Sure. In this space, right, the BSFI space, because it's such a competitive market and everybody is shouting for your share of voice in different ways and tactics, right? How does a brand like yours ensure that there is a differentiation and there is a competitive advantage?
We have been lucky because our competitors themselves have created a differentiation.
Okay.
And that differentiation favors us.
Okay.
When almost everybody from the fintech space in the broking, kind of industry is busy propagating the message, and that is about my app is very sleek and it's very fast and it works in low internet environments. But that's only execution.
That's true.
Right. What about the thinking? What about the decision to which stock to buy, when to enter, when to exit? And the research that goes behind it. Thankfully, the space has been vacated. And, we are very happy, very thankful to our competitors to take that space. Now, to take that space, you need three things, right? So you need actually research, right? So the reason they're not talking about it is none of them invest in research. And none of them invest in advice, right? Because those are very heavy investments. An app is a relatively less expensive investment. So first is you need to have that, right? Which Motilal Oswal have built for 37 long years, right? And the brand is synonymous with research, quality research, world-class research. So first is you need to have that. Second is you need to have the track record and the stature to be able to say that come to me and I'll give you advice. You wouldn't take that from someone whom you have started seeing 6 months ago, right? So the second is that, right? The third one is the consistency. The brand voice has to be consistent. I mean, you can't suddenly turn around and say, okay, no, I'm no more a fintech brand, I'm an advice brand. It'll be difficult for you. Right? It's possible, but it's difficult. But Motilal Oswal has been consistent as well. Right. For all these years, they have been doing exactly the same thing. If you remember, think equity, think Motilal Oswal, or buy right, sit tight. Those are the things they have been saying since.
Research.
Absolutely. So essentially the core has not changed. Therefore, they have earned a lot of, and obviously the group carries a lot of values and integrity and trustworthiness. And third is that they have the ability. I mean, this 13-story tower in Prabhadevi full of researchers, quality research coming out of that. So you have research, you have been giving advice, and you have been consistent, and the space has been vacated by the competitors. So,
but just to ask a rejoinder to that, do you think the younger generation, which is always into quick results and quick gratification, when you're telling them consistently as a brand, as a respected brand, which is a legacy brand, that research, go slow, think through what you're doing, does it resonate with them? How are you addressing that challenge? Because their mindset itself is so different.
Yeah. No, very good point. There are three things there. One is they appear on the surface, to be people who are out for instant gratification and, people who do not have a long-term outlook or something.
Sure.
But you scratch the surface and you see incredibly smart people. They understand what they're doing. Some of those choices would have been to blend in the society and, to whatever. But they understand that, this truism that more things change, more they remain the same. And that is true for investing. investing, I told you earlier, is not an area where, you do any kind of haste.
Absolutely.
Haste is waste. And they understand that eventually. So so some experimentation, come on, all of us have done that. I mean, people do try out a few things and then they realize that, this is not for me in the long term. So the second part is quick learning. So quite a lot of them learn that, download the app and, do it the wrong way, won some money, and then they come back and do SIP and stuff like that, right? So they come in. Third one is, this generation won't trust you till the time you have proven yourself. And therefore legacy, therefore consistency, therefore the persona, the stature, those matter a lot. So there is an incredibly smart mind. They are experimentative but quick to know what is good for them in the long term. And if they get someone whom they can trust, they are coming around.
Just to understand consumer behavior from you when it comes to mutual fund investors in the country, can you give me a sense of how that figure has grown and where we stand today?
Number of investors have grown phenomenally well. So in the broking space, I would say COVID was the watershed moment. The KYC norms were eased in the aftermath of the epidemic. And I remember about 2 crore demat accounts have gone to about 16 crore demat accounts today in the span of 4 or 5 years, right? So that's phenomenal growth. On the mutual fund side, that number would have been about same 2 crore, and that has gone to about 5 crore, now more than 5 crore. So huge amount of growth, both in terms of the number of people as well as the money in the market. The mutual fund industry, was about 17 odd lakh crore. It is about 67 lakh crore today.
Okay.
A matter of about 6-7 years. So huge amount of money also coming in.
And what is the reason for this sudden trust in the space?
So 4 or 5 things. One is the country is doing very well for a long time. Markets are doing well for a long time. People are gaining a lot more confidence. The whole mindset is changing from risk averse to risk taking kind of a thing. There are a lot of societal pressures. Affluence matters quite a lot from societal acceptance perspective. It's no more a personal thing. So you need that money, right? So the country is doing well, markets are doing well, you are in the mindset to take risk, and you need to be affluent. All of these factors, and obviously the norms have eased out, investing is easier, multiple options are available. Fintechs have really made it simple from an access point of view. The execution has been made simple.
And you see this momentum continuing, or because, there are talks of, let's say, the US getting into a recession, the trickle effect, coming in. We're already seeing a lot of people being laid off in the country. So while, yes, the country is doing well from a stock market perspective, on ground reality, the consumer confidence is not really that up. So my question is, given the global scenario and of course the domestic scenario, are you seeing the momentum continuing?
Again, 3 answers to that. One is from a personal point of view, there is no alternative. So obviously the options to investing or alternatives to investing will not work out in the longer term, right? So traditional deposits or whatever won't work. From a money growing perspective, so if you look at it from that perspective, there is no alternative to markets, right? This is first point. Second point is volatility. Now, there has always been volatility. When was Sensex a straight line?
Sure.
It's always been volatility. And on the long term, markets have always performed. They have to, to follow the economic theory, they will. Number 3, India versus the world, we are in a very advantageous position. We all know that, right? We are in a very, very advantageous position. So while there are global challenges and, factors leading to volatility, which has effect, every now and then in the market. But if you see over the 1 year, 2, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year horizon, we're doing well. So there should not be, there need not be, and there ought not to be any change to that.
Sure.
This has to continue because this is good in everybody's interest. This is good in societal interest.
Ramdev Agarwal has said that the primary challenge of the industry is to expand its capacity to handle inflows and meet investors' expectations. Explain to me how that challenge is being addressed.
First, let's understand what he's saying.
Sure.
What he's saying is, with so much money coming in, but number of companies being limited, you will have so much of money chasing very few number of stocks that the valuations will go sky high. And there are, of course, the temptation to do malpractices, right? So why is options and futures gone up? Because obviously you know that the markets are going up almost irrationally. So that is what he's saying. What is being done to address that? Multiple things are being done. At the policy level, there are quite a lot of policy parameters that are coming into play. And the regulator is trying to, weed out wrongdoings as well as the possibilities of wrongdoing. Number two, the industry is doing its bit. The government is again helping that. So there's quite a lot of positive policies that are coming in. Industry-friendly environment is being created. So the new industries or new companies, new stocks are coming up. So that is again helping.
In your opinion, when you're seeing people invest in the market, retail investors, are you seeing growth in their kind of investments? So for instance, if I'm a retail investor and I start with, let's say, 10,000 rupees a month, my confidence with the industry and let's say with yourself, like with your company, for instance, right, growing because I'm seeing slow and steady returns, that I'm able to then have more confidence to put more of my disposable income into this instrument. Are you seeing that? Or is that something the industry and of course as you as trusted leaders need to work on to ensure that majority of the disposable income comes into the mutual fund space?
So there are again 2-3 layers to that question. The first is, are returns coming in? Of course they are coming in, which is why there are investors coming in. The returns coming in are a function of markets doing well, right? We are only a pass-through vehicle when it comes to mutual funds or even broking. So markets are doing well, returns are coming in, provided you invest properly. Provided you do, like you said, SIP in a fund that you've chosen well, and you are a long-term investor, of course returns are coming in, and is there for everybody to see. Now, the second question of yours is are people making money? Now, it is a truism in our industry that market returns are not necessarily the investor returns.
Oh, wow. Explain that to me.
Okay. So fund may do well, but you may not do well if you do not come into the fund at the right time and don't stay for long.
Sure.
Right. So, thankfully that behavior is changing, but good old days, people would try and sell when the market was, kind of going down. That's the time to buy actually. So because of those issues, market returns may not be translated to investor returns 1:1. The third question that you asked was, are people coming in? And is their ticket size increasing? Of course it is increasing. Of course it is increasing, both on the broking side as well as mutual fund side. The average ticket size is increasing. People are coming with a lot more money. I just wish that all of those people would come in with right advice, with the right kind of a thought process and stay long into the market.
Motilal Oswal is also expanding rapidly, right? And you're looking at newer markets. My question to you is, Sandeep, every state or every geography has different cultural nuances. What have you learned through, your expansions? And where are you looking to really go deep? And what are your learnings from different geographies and the behavior there?
Yeah, so that is where the FMCG learnings come into play, right? So of course you need to understand, it all starts with the consumer or investor in this case. What is the mindset that investor comes from? What is the tradition? You go to South, you go to Kerala, they will come in from a very strong gold or FD perspective.
Yeah.
So you need to understand that. You need to build that in your narrative. Thankfully, investing in that sense is more of a not an area where a lot of culture comes into play, unlike clothing or some of the food things, etc. So this one is a little bit culture agnostic.
Culture agnostic,
a little bit.
Okay.
But even then, you ought to obviously keep in mind. I mean, that's 70% of our job. We need to understand whom are we talking to, and then change the narrative or adapt the narrative to suit that person, because it has to be understood first, accepted first, and then will people change their behavior. So the answer to that question of yours is, we're going regional, we are going vernacular, we are doing what that city requires, we are working with local influencers or local experts to create content in that language, etc. We're trying to make everything possible for them to understand, investing and the concept that we're explaining in their context and kind of take decisions. And we are also making distribution available closer to them.
Right.
We are present in 98% of pin codes in India.
Oh, already?
Yeah. So wherever you are, there is always a Motilal Oswal branch or a franchisee or a distributor there to help you who can speak in your own language and knows your context. And, so all those things happen.
A little while ago, there was scrutiny on these financial influencers, right? And today, influencers are just anybody's giving advice on anything. Forget even when it comes to beauty, it comes to eating, it comes to health. You have unqualified people who are just talking to you and they have a lot of followers, right? So the willingness for us to buy into an influencer also seems to be quite easy. So because this information dispensation, right or wrong, is becoming so easy, there was scrutiny on especially financial influencers. Where is that reached? Has that actually come to a conclusion where people cannot give you advice on how to invest, where to invest, what's right, what's wrong?
So the regulation is quite advanced. Its implementation is also getting teeth. It is a wrong thing to do. Absolutely the wrong thing to do. It is exactly like advising or prescribing medicine to someone when you're not a doctor.
Absolutely.
Both can cause damage, and in some cases irreversible damage. So it is a very, very wrong thing to do. But then again, with progress come these challenges.
Yeah.
So that is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is very few brands have stepped in to, fill that void. So like Motilal Oswal has launched this wealth line, and it wasn't easy. We had to get, our advisors trained, and we need to tell them that, this may not lead to immediate results. You may have to invest, your time and energy into hand-holding somebody up the path and all of that. How many brands in financial services have made that kind of an effort? Right? You may have a website here and a chatbot there, but that doesn't fill in the void. So the industry left a void, which has been filled in by unscrupulous elements. And so I'm not justifying that. It's wrong, and it is being stopped and not to be stopped. But then let's also understand that there is a void of qualified advice being available, which led to.
But, so how do you compete with new age brands like Zerodha and Grow? And, suddenly they have kind of gotten a lot of momentum. People are talking about it. They're much more savvy with social media and content, right? Let's say, Mr. Motilal Oswal or Mr. Ramdev Agarwal, they are legacy wealth creators, but they may not be as visible to talk about it. You know what I mean? So their competitive edge is in these areas, and your competitive edge is in the fact that you have a reputation for creating wealth. But how are you managing to kind of manage these challenges with newer, younger, more suave players,
So first of all, they are not competitors. We look at them as lead generators. Okay. And I'll tell you how that works, right? So they have made investing accessible. They have motivated a lot of people to come in and try them out.
Which is good for you.
Which is good for us, right? Because they don't have advice. They do not have research of their own. As a result of which, you may invest in looking at the sleekness of the app and the speed at which you can invest, but that may not lead to long-term success. So you obviously look for a long-term, sustainable, trustworthy, kind of a source, and then they come to us. So we look at them as more as lead generators, and we are thankful to them for doing what they do. And therefore, this is not a challenge for us. This is an opportunity.
Sandeep, what is it in the future, like, the upcoming features we can expect from Motilal Oswal to kind of re-energize, revitalize and kind of attract more people, and also to ensure that the legacy brand of Motilal Oswal also has a contemporary makeover?
We simply need to give them the right education, right advice and right research in a way that they understand it, make it accessible, make it something that they shift to, and, kind of have good returns. So the fact that they would be given the right advice, which will lead to better returns and, success for them, will in turn create the brand. And people are seeing us, right? So people are watching us. We in the melee of all of these apps which are saying, come to me and I'm sleek. We are saying, I will not give you tips, I'm going to give you advice, which is a completely different communication. People are seeing that. That is building the brand. The experience is going to build the brand. The research is going to build the brand. And the advice is going to build the brand. The word of mouth is going to build the brand. That's how we intend to build the brand.
Well, I think ever since you've come on board, we've definitely seen a lot of buzz around Motilal Oswal as a brand. And I think, one of the few companies in this space, the few firms in this space that has actually taken the initiative to kind of make communication relevant. So kudos on that one. And hopefully many will follow so that there is, there is enough communication that is being done both towards the consumer, who's still a large part of India still fears the market, still fears, MFs, and maybe with consistent communication and education, India will start investing in a manner that is, more effective, more long-term, and less risky. But thank you so much for all the perspective you've given us, and hopefully our viewers will also understand your perspective and, how patience matters.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And yeah, that's my message. Please invest properly with a lot of research, go for right advice, and succeed in the long term. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.